Now that we're all awake, good evening. Welcome to the October 17th meeting of the Yakima School Board. We have interpretation services from Jorge with Language Connection. If you are in person tonight and need a translation service, we have devices you can use. Please check in with Barb over here for a device. And Jorge, please translate this information for our audience.
Jorge Villaseñor, Language Connection. Si alguien necesita la ayuda de un intérprete, tenemos el sistema aquí afuera, aquí en la ventanilla. Gracias.
Gracias por tu ayuda. We offer live streaming options for this meeting. You can find the link on our webpage under Find It Fast, and then Board of Directors, or going directly to www.ysd7.org/board meetings. There are two options for public comment this evening. The first option is for comment on agenda items only. The second option toward the end of the meeting is for all other topics. There are two items to sign if you would like to speak tonight. There's a sign-in form itself and a guidelines form, and you may also get those from, I think, at the table in the back, and then turn those into Barb if you wish to make a comment this evening. If you are interested in past meetings, you can find a link on our webpage to the YSD YouTube channel to view past meetings that were recorded and posted there. Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Navarro Jr.
Here.
Director Rice.
Here.
Vice President Villanueva.
Here.
President Walker.
Here.
And Director Ryan Beckett is here, but he's just stepped out of the room.
Yeah, we're fixing a technical problem here. So would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yeah. Pledge. And the character word for October is determined, having reached a decision, firmly resolved, o en español, decidido, haber tornado una decisión firmemente resuelto. And next up, we have our land acknowledgement.
Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest on the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
The people of the Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres.
Across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Kitikat, and Yakima counties.
Today we honor the Native people who are tied to the land through history, legends, and cultures.
We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today.
We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial.
An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect.
And a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture.
It also honors the truth.
As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation.
Thank you so much. And now the fun part. We have some recognitions this evening. First up, we have some folks that retired. and I retired in the middle of the year, so we're honoring them now. And if you are here and when your name is called, would you please come up and walk through the horseshoe of fame here, and we'll shake your hand, and then you'll be presented with a certificate and a plaque. So I believe Martha's going to lead us off.
Thank you, Norm. First name is Deborah Atwood. Deborah ended her career at Garfield Elementary as a paraeducator. She worked for the Yakima School District for 5 years, from December 17, 2019 to June 15, 2023. Deborah Atwood. Luz Bender Rubio. Luz ended her career at Davis High School as a paraeducator. She worked for the Yakima School District for 24 years, from October 25, 1990 to August 31, 2023. Luz Bender Rubio. And Kathleen Brown. Kathleen ended her career at Discovery Early Learning Center as a teacher. She worked for the Yakima School District for 31 years, from January 6, 1992 to August 31, 2023. Kathleen Brown.
The next name is Carrie Lynn Byers. Carrie ended her career at Whitney Elementary as a sign language interpreter. She worked for the Yakima School District for 24 years, from September 1988 to August 31st, 23. In 1988, she was encouraged to apply for the Yakima School District for a much-needed deaf interpreter position. Oh, there's more. There's more. Although she didn't think she had enough experience, she was told she would receive training on the job. She interpreted at Eisenhower for 2 years, working with 2 lovely girls. It was her pleasure to interpret at their graduation, where Rosa Parks was invited to speak. After that, she began interpreting at Whitney Elementary and Wilson Middle Schools. She found she really enjoyed working with the younger children, and so when given the option, she chose to stay at Whitney, where there was a wonderful familial atmosphere from 1990 through 2000, and worked with so many amazing teachers, parents, interpreters, and of course, students. In 2000, she decided to stay home with her 2 children and her husband. She became a foster parent specifically because there was only one son in foster home in Yakima, and there was a desperate need for more. In 2010, after taking time off, Alice Anderson contacted her and asked if she wanted to come back to Whitney, which she did. It was in 2014 that this wonderful Whitney family supported her through the loss of her son to a car accident. She now intends to spend a lot of her time with her grandchildren of various ages. She and her husband, Gerald, are planning to travel and enjoy their retirement together. She would like to thank the Yakima School District for a lovely 24-year ride. Virginia Calderon. She ended her career at Davis High School as a security monitor. She worked for Yakima School District for 35 years, from September 6, 1988 to July 31st, 2023. Virginia Calderon. Ruth Church. She ended her career at Roosevelt Elementary as a cook manager. She worked for Yakima School District for 24 years, from November 1, 1999 to March 31, 2023. Ruth Church. Next, we have Jerry Clayton. Jerry ended his career at Davis High School as a custodian. He worked for Yakima School District for 15 years from March 4th, 2008 to August 31st, 2023. Jerry Clayton.
Next up, we have Joan Coe. She ended her career in special education services as an executive director. She worked for the Yakima School District for 17 years, from August 29th, 2006 to June 30th, 2023. Next, we have John Comiskey. He ended his career in transportation as a mechanic. He worked for Yakima School District for 36 years, from March 2nd, 1987 to August 31st, 2023. He began his career in pupil transportation in May of 1984. When he was hired by Educational Service District 105 to be one of 4 mechanics to staff the brand new transportation co-op that was to serve 4 school districts, which included Yakima, Sela, East Valley, and Union Gap. Then in 1987, ESD 105 decided to leave the transportation co-op, and the Yakima School District took full control of the facility, where all employees became Yakima School District staff. John has always taken pupil transportation very seriously and still does to this day. He is proud that Yakima School District transportation has been in the top percentage of all the school districts in the state, and it's because of teamwork within that department. He is honored to have been part of the team for so many years. He will not only miss his co-workers and administration, but having had the opportunity to transport students to and from school the last few years, they have made him realize the real importance of pupil transportation. He will miss the daily interactions with the students, listening to their stories and concerns, and making them feel important. He is so proud to have been a part of the Yakima School District team. He officially retired on the last day of the fiscal year, August 31st, 2023, and is beginning to get used to retirement. And I need a correction here. He was the lead mechanic. So. Next up, we have Beth Davidson. She ended her career in special education services as a paraeducator. She worked for the Yakima School District for 21 years, from September 20th, 2002 to August 31st, 2023. She was hired September 20th, 2002 as a paraeducator at Eisenhower High School. Over the 8 years she was at Ike, she worked in 2 self-contained classrooms, 5 years with Elaine Rovero, and 3 years with Corey Phillips. From 2010 until her retirement in August 2023, she worked for SES with Tracy Schroeder, the transition specialist. Beth was with the district for 21 years total.
Up next, we have Linda Gomez Salinas. Linda ended her career at Martin Luther King Elementary as a data specialist. She worked for Yakima School District for 16 years, from February 13th of 2007 to December 31st of 2023. She started working as a classified substitute for YSD in 2006. In 2007, she was hired as the elementary coordinator at YSD Science Center for 4 years. She then worked as the Indian Education Liaison for middle and high school Native students for YSD in 2011. Then in 2015, she became the data specialist at MLK until the end of December 2023 of this year to retire. She has really enjoyed working with YSD staff, supporting, learning, and watching the elementary students grow. She's been employed with YSD for 16 years and 10 months. Thank you, Linda. Gail Green. Gail ended her career at Stanton Academy as the office manager. She worked for the Yakima School District for 39 years, from January 3rd, 1984 to July 17th of 2023. Please join me in congratulating Gail Green. Radine Long. She ended her career at the Teaching and Learning Center as a program specialist. She worked for the Yakima School District for 34 years, from January 30th of 1989 to June 30th of 2023. Please join me in congratulating Radine Long. Rita Pilgrim. Rita ended her career at Discovery Early Learning Center as a program specialist. She worked for Yakima School District for 13 years, from October 7th of 2010 to December 31st of 2023. She was the first executive director of the Yakima Area Arboretum after moving to Washington from Ohio in the 1980s. There she had a custodian in his 80s who had to keep working because he never learned to read. So she decided to join Governor Gary Locke's Washington Reading Corps program to supervise AmeriCorps Vista volunteers in the Yakima schools. To further help teachers and administrators, she became the certification clock hour specialist at ESD 105. In October of 2010, Steve Cole in YSD Human Resources hired Rita to support certificated staff. 5 years later, she joined the Discovery Early Learning Center as a program specialist. While we try to teach our children all about life, our children teach us what life is all about. Please join me in congratulating Rita Pilgrim.
Darla Rohrbach Nass. Darla ended her career at Lewis and Clark Middle School as a library support. She worked for the Yakima School District for 15 years. From 10/21/2008 to 9/8/2023. She was hired in 2008 as a sub-paraeducator, spent most of her time in the library at Martin Luther King Junior Elementary. She loved helping students learn reading skills and computer skills. A perfect opportunity arose when a position opened at Lewis and Clark Middle School in the library as a classified office professional. She interviewed and took the library support position in 2010, which was the perfect position for her. She also assisted with IT professionals to address students' computer issues. Smiles were always available. As you can tell when she walked up, right? She was smiling the whole way through. Smiles were always available at the library. She was with the district for 15 years. Congratulations to Darla. Tanya Segura. Tanya will end her career at Martin Luther King Elementary as a teacher. She worked for the Yakima School District for 40 years, from 1983 to 2023. She was hired on October 2nd, 1998 as a traveling paraeducator for the administration building, Whitney, Washington, Garfield, and Hoover Elementary. Over the next few years, she became a test evaluator working with all schools in the Yakima School District. As a teacher, Tanya worked at Castlevale, McClure, Roosevelt, and spent the most years at McKinley until 2021. Then she moved briefly to Martin Luther King Junior Elementary, where she remained until her retirement. Tanya will retire on December 31st, 2023, just around the corner, with 36 years plus of service. Congratulations to Tanya. Pete Stewart. Pete ended his career in transportation as a service technician. He worked for the Yakima School District for 23 years from 2000 to 2023. Congratulations to Pete. Elaine Tillotson. Elaine ended her career at Wilson Middle School as a student advocate. She worked for the Yakima School District for 18 years from 2005 to 2023. Congratulations to Elaine. And Genevieve Verduzco ended her career at Robertson Elementary as a paraeducator. She worked for the Yakima School District for 36 years from 1987 to 2023. Congratulations.
Director Rice has a statistic she would like to share with our audience today.
Every time I read this type of statistic, whenever we're recognizing retirees, it just blows me away that we have such dedicated employees in our district who care so much about our students. The total years of service for this group of retirees this evening, 466 years. I think that deserves a big round of applause. And if we could have all the retirees come up, stand in front of our brand new background, and we'll get some pictures. And then if family wants to come up and take pictures, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, we're going to take a couple minutes and allow you all to move on with the rest of your evening if you'd like to do that. If you wish to stay, you're more than welcome. We're going to move into the business portion of our...
We still have one more recognition to do.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. So...
Yeah, we have one more recognition if you want to stay for that part before we get to the business stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. We have two groups, two small groups we'd like to recognize this evening. One is recognition of Yakima School District Parent Advisory Committee, or PAC. The Yakima School District Board of Directors wishes to recognize the significant contributions of the Yakima School District Parent Advisory Committee in the planning and coordination of our district-wide family engagement events. We extend our gratitude for their support in promoting family engagement for all students and families within the Yakima School District. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. And those members of the advisory committee are Brenda Torres, Edith Gonzalez, Rosalia Gudino, Maggie Mendoza, Celeste Galvan, Leslie Cornejo, and Alma Jacqueline Hernandez. Give them a hand, please. Are any of those folks here this evening? Yeah. The second group we'd like to recognize, we do the photo first? Okay. There's nothing like the power of dedicated moms. We also like to recognize, and dads, we'd like to recognize Yakima School Migrant Education Program Core PAC. The Yakima School District Board of Directors wishes to express its deep appreciation for the significant contributions made by the Migrant Education Program Core PAC or PAC. Their invaluable commitment to advancing the migrant education program and consistently prioritizing the well-being of our migrant students is truly commendable. We extend our heartfelt gratitude for their unwavering dedication to this program's goals, objectives, and the essential needs of our students and their families. And the members of that steering committee are Eduardo Pacheco, Roberto Zuniga, Adriana Juarez, Ricardo Perez, Evelia Benitez, and Teresa Altamirano. Are any of those folks here this evening? Oh, I'll just pass it to you for that. Yeah. And in conjunction with those honors, I'd like to announce the Family Engagement Academy for all Yakima School District families on Wednesday, October 25th, from 5:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. at Washington Middle School. Dinner will be served at 5:30. There will be some workshops on student emotional health, harassment, intimidation, and bullying, fentanyl prevention education, and an update from our superintendent. So please consider attending that event. I've been to a couple of those. They're really spectacular. We've had over 700 people at some of those events. So arrive early. And next, last but not least, our superintendent has one other recognition he would like to make this evening.
Thank you, President Walker, for allowing me to move this up in the schedule here. We do have with us this evening Amy Norton, who was selected as the School Nurse Administrator of the Year by the School Nurse Organization of Washington, or SNO. Isn't that the great acronym? Amy, if you would come up to be recognized. And yes, please. We would love to have her take her photo, and I think it would be appropriate to have it taken with Stacy Locke, who won the award previously. So we're really collecting this award. And Stacy, would you like to add anything about Amy? And nope, thumbs up. Okay. All right, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Amy, for all of your hard work for our students.
That completes our recognitions for this evening. If you haven't had enough meetings in your life, you're welcome to remain through the rest of our meeting. But if you'd like to go home and relax, feel free to depart, and we'll miss you as you go. Next up, we have our board report from Aaron Chaplin on ends report goal 3. Take it away, Erin.
Right. Thank you, Board President Walker, Board of Directors, and Superintendent Green for allowing us to have this opportunity to present on goal number 3, which is, wait for the slide deck to get queued up here.
While they're getting the tech up and running, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Erin Chaplin, who's here to do this board report for us this evening. She has been in Yakima a long time, and very excited to have her in a new role this year in our district. So she was promoted this last year to the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And with that came a whole bunch more duties, and she is truly just taking them all on. She's been an amazing asset in our department in teaching and learning, and I'm pleased to have her here to share this data with you this evening.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And thank you again for having us, or having TNL here for the ends report on Goal 3. And as you can see, Goal 3 is the equitable opportunity to achieve core mastery and critical thinking. So with this goal, we are focused on all students being empowered to their own education, meeting or exceeding standards, be critical and creative thinkers, seek solutions, and be advocates for racial and social justice. And when we look at this goal and we are talking about all students, we are talking about all students. All means all, no exceptions. Proficiency on this goal is measured through the Smarter Balanced Assessment in English Language Arts and Mathematics in grades 3 through 8 and grade 10. Proficiency levels are set by OSPI, and they're measured by the OSPI report card. Proficiency is also set by OSPI in the area of science on the Washington Assessment of Science, also referred to as WACAS, for grades 5, 8, and 11. In terms of our overall progress determination, we are making progress in these areas. You received the full slide deck, which had a lot of additional data, but we wanted to highlight one slide in particular because it really highlights the growth over time. So we have a look at data over the course of 6 years here. You will notice in 2019, 2020, we have an absence of data due to the COVID pandemic. And you will see the following year, 2020, 2021, when we came back from interruption to our learning with some declining proficiency levels. And you can see that each year since then, we are trending upward and trending upward significantly in most grade levels. So we're very proud of that overall progress. And with our continued focus on professional learning communities, with our professional learning teams, we are confident that proficiency levels will continue to increase throughout the district at all grade levels. So we have some highlights with this data. So in comparison from last year to this year, you will see that we have, we have some areas to celebrate in English Language Arts. So for our English learners in English Language Arts Smarter Balanced Assessment, we increased from 7% proficiency to 10.2%. So that the disparity between those actually decrease, which means our scores for those students increase. In English Language Arts on an assessment called WAAIM, which is the Washington Assessment for Instruction. Oh, let me double check my note here. Access to Instruction and Measurement. Sorry about that. And this is the alternative assessment for students with cognitive disabilities. And so we saw an increase for these students in their proficiency from 46.6% to 51.4%. And for our English learners who take the WAAIM in English Language Arts, their proficiency levels went up from 38.5% to 44.9%. We see some similar trends in mathematics. For our students on section 504, which is a health plan, Their proficiency levels went up in mathematics from 11.9% to 18.9%. On math WAAIM, 16.9% to 19.5%. And then for our English learners in math WAAIM, it went from 33.3% to 45.5%. So a very significant growth. In science, the disparity for our English learners on WACAS went from 4% to 7.9%. So lots of areas for celebration, and a lot of this can be attributed to our professional learning teams with a really clear focus on specific student subgroups. When we take a look at opportunities, we do have some opportunities for increased focus in English language arts, mathematics, and science, and there's a trend in each of those areas. So our English learners, our migrant students, and our low-income students all are passing at lower proficiency levels than their counterparts. And so again, with careful attention and focus through our professional learning teams, the work of those teams to focus their instruction based on progress monitoring and ongoing common and formative assessments with a clear focus on those guaranteed standards. Again, our focus will help support all of those students in those areas. And that takes me to the end of our presentation on Goal 3. What questions do you have?
Do we have any questions from the board for Aaron?
Thank you, Aaron, for an abbreviated presentation. I read the slides earlier, and I did have a question about the test results. And I noticed that there's that dip that you talked about from 1920 or 2021. And then since then, I've seen that the majority of the scores have increased from the first year back until now. And I'm wondering, now that we're back for 2 full years now, can you give us a sense for when we might reach where we were before, or if you have a sense as to whether or not we can expect equivalent improvements that we were having, equal to those that we were having before?
That's somewhat difficult to
Don't have your crystal ball here?
No, I wish I did. But I know that hearing from our schools, focusing on their school improvement plans, each of our buildings is really targeted and focused on not only their all-student population, but their subgroup population. So teams, professional learning teams are really focused on ensuring that all students are having at least a year's growth in a year's time. And for those students who may be farther behind, that we're really focused on accelerating their learning. The professional learning teams are meeting on a weekly basis, looking at student work. So looking at that common formative assessment, looking at growth over time. And with that continued focus, especially around the PLTs, along with the coaching and our principal supervision, our 3 levers, we will see increased gains. I'm quite sure. It's difficult, though, to pinpoint how many percentage points every year, though.
I'm glad, though, that they're focusing on growth and making sure that every student is at least growing by 1 year. I know we have a lot that can grow by a lot more, but thank you for that information.
I have just kind of a related question. And I know it's still early in the year and we don't have formal assessments yet, but when you kind of look over the shoulders of our teachers and their PLCs, are you getting any sense from the formative assessments that that upward trend is still continuing, or can you get any sense at all from looking at those?
We recently had principals come together at the Learning Center for data meetings, and we saw some significant increases from cohort to cohort in mathematics. So we're very encouraged by that growth. The same for English language arts. In terms of common formative assessments, our English language arts teachers at middle and high school and at elementary are learning those new common formative assessments because it's our first year of implementation. So they're really digging into the curriculum and looking at those common formative assessments so that they can have student work to look at when they are in their PLTs.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none.
Well, I just have a comment. I actually needed additional time. I feel I didn't have sufficient time to review the document. So I may have questions next week. I don't know if that'd be appropriate, or we just answer on the survey if that's the process. So again, I just didn't feel I had sufficient time. So I think it was released Thursday or Friday probably. So just wanted to make that comment. I'm not prepared now to make any or ask any questions. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just have a quick question or request rather, and then we'll just share some brief comments on slides 12 through 18. Looks like maybe it's a screenshot of something, and we're missing the column headers of those tables, and so I'm not sure what's being reported in each of those columns, if it's each year, each school year. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Director Villanueva, it is just typed at the top of that slide. So it says Smarter Balanced Assessment, ELA, Math, and Science. So that
So each column represents one of those?
Yes, so it's the English language arts score, the mathematics score, and the science score. And then the last three columns are for the WAAIM,
Oh,
which
I
again
see.
is that alternate assessment for students with cognitive disabilities. Same
see.
order, language arts, mathematics, and then science.
Oh, I see. Okay. My general comment, this is always a tough one for me because this is like the big, global lens, right? And, I certainly acknowledge that we're making progress, and it's still disheartening to see how that, how COVID is continuing to impact. We have 3 years worth of data now, and we're not anywhere near, except in science. Science seems to be not that as big a dip as we saw in mathematics and English language arts. And so certainly acknowledge all the work that the teams have done to continue to bring up these scores and work with the students and teachers and staff. And it's still just disheartening to see 3 years in, we're not anywhere near, in some cases, still less than half where we were at before COVID. And that was still not anywhere near the standard. And so it's hard to, I guess, continue to see that lag there. Again, kudos to the team for the growth that we are seeing, and certainly the students and all the work that they're doing to do that and increase those scores. It's just something that's hard to just continue to look at and see how far behind we are. So thank you so much for all the work and to the teams in the progress that we are seeing.
As part of our data analysis, do we have an opportunity to look at data from districts with similar population and demographics to kind of see where we fit with districts around the state?
We do, and we're trending very much like the rest of the state. And even if you look at data from other states as well, everyone is still continuing to work their way back. But I would point you, if you're interested, to the OSPI school report card, and you can access any district within our state and look at these same metrics if you're interested.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I do have another question. I'm just kind of forecasting and seeing into the future with these scores being so low. Is there I guess I'm just thinking about graduation, what that's going to look like, and where Washington State, I guess, U.S. kids are going to end up. Has there begun to be conversations about what that might look like, or planning, or that's kind of a big, broad question. And I understand we don't have the crystal ball, but I assume there's been discussions about what needs to happen.
Of course, yeah. I think what's interesting is as we've seen these scores, they are climbing. So I do want to give
absolutely.
credit to our teachers. But we are working to bounce back. But this is really one of the reasons that our State Board of Education worked to put other pathways in place towards graduation, that this is not the only metric on which students can show proficiency and capacity to move on to post-secondary education, whether it's college or apprenticeships, technical schools, et cetera. So while we're still really seeing these scores take their time to get back to where we were, our graduation rates, like at Davis and Eisenhower, actually are up. So I think it really speaks to our high school staff for really making sure that our kids can access the curriculum, that they're still able to be successful, that they have multiple modes of being able to show and demonstrate their capacity and their proficiency. And again, there are multiple pathways towards graduation. So this is one metric, but this is part of the power in working as a district-wide PLC is as we start to bring those common formative assessments online, it's another way for us to assess how our kids doing. And you heard Aaron reference our data meetings this fall. We are now doing 3 times a year screener assessments in literacy, mathematics, and social emotional behavioral capacity for our students. And so that's giving us another look at how are our kids doing across the system. So I think there is, we all feel the same as you, Director Villanueva. It is hard to look at these scores, but I do think we are on the right path and that we're seeing early evidence that we're on the right track.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, any other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we have updates from members of the board. No excitement from the board. Martha and I attended the WASDA Thursday seminar, networking seminar last Thursday, and there was I didn't get a chance to relook at it again today because I was having computer difficulties. But there was they shared an organization's tools called the Hanover Research, and I believe we have a PowerPoint to bring up. And Martha, did you want to comment a little on that? It could provide some potential resources for the board or for our administrative team. And I don't know if Director or Superintendent Green, if you're familiar with that particular outfits, materials, it came highly recommended. It does come with a cost, so I think that might be something we want to look at in the future.
My understanding is that it's a research group that has put together research on family engagement, and I know that some districts in our state are a part or have subscribed or become a partner with this organization. I don't know if we are. We are. Okay.
Oh, we are already. Okay.
So I sent Barb a copy of that PowerPoint or that presentation.
Barb, I think if you click on the link to that on the side, the link to Hanover Research, it may pull up that PowerPoint. It just talks a little bit about. There you go.
It was a PowerPoint. That looks like their website. Yeah, that's not it.
Oh, it was a PowerPoint related directly to Hanover Research. and showing the types of programs and data that you can generate from their research. Well, we'll look at that another time, but we just wanted the board to be aware that that's a potentially powerful tool for, and since we already have access to it, it can be something we may want to incorporate more of
Be a
in
study session.
for our study session for the board to understand what that can do for us as a district. Okay, any other comments from the board on updates? Right, moving on. Dr. Green, Superintendent's update.
Thank you, President Walker. I believe we're going to go to take a look at the screen and just share some of the events that have happened since our last session. I've taken the liberty of uploading some photos, and I will detail what's been happening around the district since the last time that we came together. We did have a visit by Senator Torres. Actually, we'll start with this one right here. First of all, to recognize that we have National Principals Month, and this is a quote from Arnie Duncan, and we recognize the impact that principals do make on a system. Without great principals, we will not have great schools, and we appreciate all the hard work of our principals as well as our teachers, but especially our principals during this month. We would like to recognize that Phil English is being acknowledged Thursday, October 19th for the Ted Robertson Award. He is one of 3 recipients that will take place here in a few days. There's a much younger me. That was my first year, so I've aged significantly during that time. I had to dig up a photo. This is actually, if you go back to that one right there, that first photo, this was at Nob Hill Elementary. And for me, it's really the stuffed seal that young lady was dragging down the hallway as I saw her with her friends. But wonderful things are happening at Nob Hill. We recognize again the leadership of Aaron Thomas and Craig Smith and the work that they're doing. And certainly the work that Hector does as well, Hector Mendez, as the Executive Director of Accountability. Here you see some of the data of which she is very proud. You'll notice that she holds up the hill or Nob Hill and uses the data from Apple Valley and Cottonwood to show where she starts at and where our students are in the process, entering at a lower level of proficiency than typically what we see west of our district. So when you see the attendance that is excelling and ELL outcomes, there's something wonderful to celebrate in that information. Moving on, we did have a cabinet meeting here a week ago, and it was crashed by Senator Torres. So we always appreciate the relationship that we have with our legislators, and it was nice of her to stop by. She was speaking at Rotary and then stopped by afterwards, and we had a wonderful conversation about what is happening with the AA and the high school program. Here you will see some students from our last board meeting. Actually, that's the young lady that brought us in over at Barge Lincoln. There we go, our docents as we walked in. And there was a fall luncheon to which I was invited to speak. It was for our realtors. In fact, you'll see in one more click there, it's a fall luncheon for the Yakima Association of Realtors. We were able to share information about our levy and inform them about how it impacts, could impact our community or does impact our community. It was, I spoke to the group for about 20 minutes. I think they had to drag me off the stage, and hopefully well, I guess I don't know if they're going to have me back or not, but it was a wonderful event, and we did have great feedback, and I was happy to be invited to that for the first time in my time here in the district. Also, there was a visitation, and we'll stop there for a moment, that first slide. We did have the State Board of Education in town for 2 days, and I was able to give the opener. We had Principal Kaplicki here seen again with Senator Torres, who keeps crashing my party time and time again. He was recognizing, there to recognize the impact of principals and represent our district in that capacity. So he did not speak, but he was referenced, and the State Board was acknowledging the importance of principals during this valued month. There was an interview with a student who is there holding the seal, who represents the, I guess that's the State Board seal. And there was an interview after the presentation. Here we have with a board member, Ryan Peralta out of Pasco. as well as then the presentation itself, where we were able to talk about the impact of the AA and the high school program, as well as the work that we're doing with Handle with Care, and share that with the state board. This is the entryway to Hoover, a wonderful building to walk into, one of our oldest buildings. And here I am learning with our students. They put me to work in small groups, small math groups, strengthening sight word recognition. They even had me distributing milk with Assistant Principal Orlando Lara, and then comparing and contrasting the Maya, Inca, and Aztec empires. So there's great work that is happening there with our new curriculum. So it is elevating the expectation, raising the bar for our students. I'm very excited about that. Saturday, I headed over to the University of Washington, was able to speak to our doctoral candidates about the finance portion of what happens in schools. That's the professor there. We were able to gift him a work of art by one of our students. And of course, it was game day, so I had to take a picture there. And oh, look what happened. The Huskies won. Sorry about that, Dr. Rodriguez, but I thought I'd share that. And there we have two of our superintendent interns currently, Heather Hasty and Maria Lucero, who are there taking their courses. So here at the end of this school year, we will have two new doctors here amongst us from our school there across the pass. We are approaching Halloween, so this is an example of how our payroll department comes across when they celebrate. So one person truly can make an impact and elevate the climate and help our culture continue to grow in a positive manner. We appreciate that happening. And then this here is, I believe this is back at Hoover, and just recognizing our students and the great teachers that we have. And nothing's better than getting into classrooms and seeing the work that they're doing. So the scores only tell part of the story, as was shared by Dr. Rodriguez. We're seeing wonderful things happen, especially with the new curriculum that is, again, elevating expectations. There was another session that I participated in, which was with Children's Alliance, a webinar. I was in with legislator, one of the legislators, Lisa Callan, from the, I believe it's, I can't read the district, Issaquah. Thank you. Thank you. My eyes fail me right now. So we were speaking about the impact of mental health, and I was the practitioner in this case, and they were talking about policies, and I was able to steer the conversation around, again, things that we're doing to address the root cause of mental health. So again, we're talking about scores, but we're doing such a better job of addressing the trauma that is impacting our students. The numbers that we have through our Handle with Care program has continued to elevate every year. So we're seeing more and more students that are being identified, and that relationship with the city of Yakima, the police department, and then wraparound services in the city are continuing to grow. And then as you progress through there, you'll see there we have Director Rice, and there's, oh, look at that. We have Director Beckett right there figuring out the Kahoot code. So I had to take a picture of him. There he is laughing there as he tried to figure out the technology. And we were able to share around our the work of our dual language, as well as Levy Facts, presenting them to our business partners. We had basically it was, I think, over 50% of a new group coming in. Lots of great questions, interaction. Thank you again, Director Beckett, Director Rice, for being a part of that session. And so with that brings us up to date. And there are great things that are happening in our district. We're getting the voice of Yakima across the state, and representing our community well, and providing great feedback to everything from, and I think I mentioned one legislator, but I also spoke with 2 other senators during that time and 4 other legislative representatives as we continue to try to connect with our area politicians and state politicians to support the programs and the needs that we have here in our valley. Are there any questions that I could answer, or any feedback of those who were participating in any of those activities or events?
I thought it was a great turnout yesterday at our business partner meeting. It was certainly a much larger group than we've had in the past couple of years. And I want to extend my appreciation to Liz for all the work that she did in gathering those folks and getting them to come for lunch.
Thank you. Yes, Liz did the executive assistant for our Deputy Superintendent Locke, did a great job, and Deputy Superintendent Locke as well for putting together the structure of that meeting. So thank you, Stacy.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the consent agenda. There are 4 items in the consent agenda this month. Approval of minutes. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. My mouse skipped calendar updates. I just moved right down. Okay, calendar updates and future agenda topics. If you click on that on your computer, you can just kind of see the, I'm not going to go through all those items individually, but you can see the district-wide events, the sporting events, and so on that are, again, opportunities for us to participate. Please be sure and check with Barb and make sure to sign up if you want to do a school visit with Dr. Green so that we don't violate quorum on our school visits. Okay. Now we have comments from the public on agenda items. Is there anyone commenting this evening? None. Okay. Moving on now to consent agenda. Caught up with my mouse. Okay, we have approval of consent agenda, approval of minutes, notification of approval of warrants for September, and approval of personnel actions. Just standard consent agenda items. Is there any need to remove any of those items for further discussion? Hearing not, do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Hi, Barb. Thank you. You can't be 2 places at once. I haven't managed that yet. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett,
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva,
Aye.
and President Walker.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. We now have a second opportunity for comments from the public on items that are not on the agenda. I do believe we have. Oh, okay. Okay. So we'd like to welcome Kiki Hegler.
Hi, everyone. Hello and good evening. My name is Kiriki Hegler, and I have lived in the Yakima Valley my whole life. I am currently a senior nursing student at Heritage University, obtaining my Bachelor's of Sciences in Nursing. We are currently studying community health and learning about how our governmental systems affect our community's health. Myself and several of our students have been lucky enough to be placed all across the valley from Sunnyside down to the Yakima school districts. I was lucky enough as well to be placed in a school nurse setting and to gain those valuable firsthand experiences. During my rotation, I've learned a great many things, and just a few of those things are the advocacy that school nurses have for our students and for our families, the community health, and what health equity means to our communities. Being able to learn and practice with a school nurse has allowed me to see just how vital school nurses are in the community and in creating equitable health. Health is created where people live, love, work, learn, and play. School nursing sees kids from all walks of life, and sees changes in kids due to home or school struggles. We are often the first people to see these things. We advocate for those kids and get them the help they need. We have also worked with other providers to coordinate things like flu vaccine clinics for the community, dental screening for students, a dental van to provide basic dental care for our students, and etc. That's just a few of the things on the list. All of these services aid people not just in the community, but those with students and those who cannot access things like that. This is why I am standing before you today to stress the importance of school nurses in our communities and to ask that you think about the impact that school nursing has on your kids and your and your communities. In closing, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to speak tonight and thinking about what I've presented to you and the importance of school nurses in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation this evening. Next up, we have policy governance. And number 1 on the agenda is approval for policies 1000.2.7, 1000.2.8, 1000.2.5, and 1000.2.9. And reviewing the data on those, we had either 3 or 4 responses in all of those. We did not have full responses on the Survey Monkeys for those. The ones that we did receive were every issue was in compliance, or there was one, I think under 2.9, that was making progress. There were no comments or concerns of non-making compliance on any of those. So any questions about the data or responses on? I would entertain a motion to approve those, and all 4 I think we could do in one motion.
I move approval of the monitoring reports for policies 1000.2.5, 1000.2.7, 1000.2.8, and 1000.2.9.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 4 previously mentioned policies. Any other question or discussion about those? Okay, Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Director Beckett?
Aye.
Director Navarro Jr.?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Vice President Villanueva?
Aye.
President Walker?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, next up we have 4 new policies for first review. So we need to kind of summarize each one of those. I'll start with 1000.3.0, Global Governance Commitment. The purpose of the board on behalf of the Yakima community is to ensure that the Yakima School District achieves appropriate results for all students at an appropriate cost as specified in Board NSCO's Policies 1000, while avoiding unacceptable actions and situations as prohibited in our Executive Board limitations in 1000.2. And with the adoption of board's policies and end goals 1000.1, executive limitations 1000.2, and global governance 1000.3, with the exception of board policies required by law, the administrative operation of the district is delegated to the superintendent to operate and manage in accordance with the above cited policies and in accordance with those procedures as adopted and or modified by the superintendent. Any other questions or comments about that policy? Okay, Barb, would you submit that for SurveyMonkey and we'll respond to that? And that will be due when? October 21st? 23rd. Okay, next up, governing style.
I can take that one.
You want to take that one, Martha?
This particular policy identifies how and in what process the board will govern. It starts out with a list of 8 means through which the board will govern. The board of directors will govern lawfully with an emphasis on outward vision rather than an internal preoccupation, encouragement of diversity in viewpoints, strategic leadership more than administrative detail, clear distinction of board and superintendent roles, compliance with all appropriate and applicable district policies and procedures, collective rather than individual decisions, future rather than past or present, and proactivity rather than reactivity. And then we've got a list of 10 or 11 sub-elements that I'm not going to read because those who can read should. But these next sections identify how the board will govern and operate. And section 4 talks about how the board will enforce upon itself the discipline necessary to govern with excellence. And I think that's probably it, unless someone has questions.
Any questions or comments? Okay, and again, you will have an opportunity to read through that more thoroughly if you wish prior to doing your Survey Monkey. Okay, next up, board job description 1000.3.2. Is there someone that would like to summarize that one for us?
I can do that one. The board job description outlines the essential functions of our role as a board. We do these on behalf of the community. The areas, the essential functions include responsible governance, creating conditions for student and staff success, setting high expectations for student learning, accountability for staff learning, and community engagement. And as previously stated, there's a lot more content there that the board can read for additional details.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, and last up, we have agenda planning 1000.3.3. Would someone care to summarize that one for us?
I can try. Give me a second. Thank you. Agenda planning to accomplish its work products with a governance style consistent with board policies. The board of directors will follow an annual agenda which examines student achievement, examines organizational performance, improves board performance, and ends goals policies are reviewed on timing and has definitions behind all of those. Identifies the board's planning cycle, calendar of that, and the cycle with the board's development for the next coming year. Is encouraged to include consultations with selected groups in the community, board development and training designed to improve the board's ability to perform, scheduled monitoring reports, and superintendent contract renewal and conditions.
Any questions or comments on that? Just to comment, I know that we've struggled a little bit on some of the timing of when we do our reports and how we mesh that with contract renewal and conditions and so on. So it's something that we've been working on, cleaning that up and getting it more consistent. So, but again, if there are some considerations you think maybe need to change in that policy, please be sure and indicate that on your report, survey. Any other questions or comments? Okay, that concludes policy governance section. Do we have a need for executive session this evening?
We do not have a need for a session. I do have 2 comments.
Okay.
When you're, yes.
Okay.
Okay. If I just neglected to call out that as you entered today, you saw the wonderful artwork from our Davis students. We've had it here for several weeks, so pardon me for not calling attention to the wonderful work of leadership of Kara Holes at Davis. And we have 3 winners. You'll see on your way out, we have an ESD 105 board choice winner by Marlene Martinez. It's called eternity. We have a Congressional Art Award winner, which is a second consecutive year, and it will hang in the Capitol for a year. That's by Mia Dufo, Pulse of America. And then we have the actual state winner, the OSPI Superintendent Selection, which is Emily Morales, and it's American Gothic. So 3 pretty big winners there amongst the work of students of Carol Holes. And then I regret that the young lady who shared information about school nurses departed, because I would have shared that we do have 21 school nurses serving our 15,000 students. And it's worth pointing out that the state only provides funding for 14.3 of those nurses for a district our size. So we have over 6 point something of those nurses are provided through levy funds. So
Okay.
we are well above that average.
Could you get that data to me, because I'll be
Sure.
penning a brief
Absolutely.
letter to her for
Okay. Mhm.
her presentation, so I can give her that information and encourage her in her pursuit of that profession. We certainly need more school nurses. Okay, any other comments for the good of the order? Questions? Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.